We are live. What are you barking about? Were you taking a nap? I done woke him up. I think he was asleep. Y'all doing all right? I hope everybody is staying warm. We had discussed Sunday about doing a midweek live, and so this is our first midweek live. We'll see how well it does. If it don't do very well, then we'll know that it's not really going to work. So we'll just see. But we wanted to try this midweek live and see how everybody's doing. I'm not sure how much we'll be able to keep this going every single week. Like I said, we do try to do the Sunday live every Sunday, but we'll just have to see how this midweek live goes. Hello, Eric. How are you doing? Hope you're staying warm. Who all else is here? Because it shows that there's a couple people on. If you want to tell me who you are. It makes it a lot easier knowing who you're talking to. If you don't know who you're talking to, then it's almost like you're just talking to I don't know what. I don't know. But I hope everybody is doing well and staying warm. I know a lot of people are getting colder temps like we are. I think tonight, we're going to be, tonight into tomorrow, I think it's going to be like 2 degrees. 2 degrees. And so that's going to be fun. I think the worst part, what is it? Come here. Come here, Ollie. I think I woke him up. Now he's, hey, Lakin. Come here real quick. He always, every time I get on the live, he decides he needs to go out, and I've got to walk all the way over there. Will you let the dog out, please? I'm on a live, and he's decided he's got to go to the bathroom. Been working nonstop with the snow, so I haven't been doing a lot other than working. First normal night I've had in a few days, LOL. It warmed up to like a grand total of, I think, 20 degrees, something maybe. I know when we got to the farm it said it was 17 degrees. And so, practically felt almost like spring. But the snow melted. I don't know what the temperature is right now, but we're going to get down to 2 degrees. And then they're giving 2 degrees tonight. And then tomorrow, I think we're supposed to get like in between 3 to 6 inches of snow. And then back to lows. I don't even know. I think that they were telling us that we were going to get in negatives, and I don't know if they're still saying that. I don't watch the news. And so everything I hear is like hearsay. What other people have said that, they watch the news and that's what it is. Because I don't watch it. And where I don't watch it, I don't really know. I can how you get the notifications. How you'll get like notifications on your phone. Do you hate the news or do you hate the weather? I'll tell you what. Since we're talking about hating weather, I have been like notoriously known for just hating wintertime. And I don't know if I necessarily went into this year, this winter thinking, I'm going to do better about not hating winter. I'm not going to be so negative. Both, but I can't stand the cold. I don't like being cold, but I don't know if I switched something in my brain because I complained about it all summer and I was like, I hate winter, I hate winter, I hate winter. I don't know if I switched something over, but as of now, I'm doing okay. Usually I'm the biggest complainer and I'm just a big Debbie Downer about it. I think a lot of it is because we got snow. I don't like the cold without snow. If it's cold and we have snow, I'm okay. But if it's going to be cold, in my opinion, we might as well have snow. I know I've said that before. I know y'all probably heard me say that a million times. But if it's going to be cold, I feel like I need snow. And so I think that I've had a better outlook on the winter this year. Also, I know a lot of people talk about this. It's probably taboo, and cold is getting as long. Cold is great as long as there's snow. It's to be cold and miserable, yeah. That's okay. Yeah, I've heard of Azure Standard. You go pick up your order. But thank you for popping in and letting me know. I probably would have wondered about you. God bless you and be careful. Lakin, will you get the dog? He's at the door. Yeah, I don't like being cold and wet. And I don't like just being straight cold, but I can handle the cold if there's snow. Snow just makes me happy. But what I was talking about, like the taboo topic that a lot of people don't want to talk about, is I have seasonal depression, big time. And last year for me was really, really hard. I spent many nights going to bed just crying, and crying myself to sleep. And so, hello, Ark Wildman. And so that was really hard. And I think that last year I made myself miserable, with the depression. And so winter was really, really hard, and it felt like it was never going to be over. And so this year, even when it is cold, I force myself outside, because last year seasonal depression was so bad that I didn't leave the house. I just told Andy I can't do it. It was bad. It was really bad. And so I just told him I couldn't do it. And because I didn't do it, because I didn't make myself go outside, it kept getting worse. And he kept telling me, you need to try to go outside. You need to try to get outside. Even if you don't go to the farm, you need to try to get outside. And so, this year I'm doing a lot better because I'm making myself do it. And I feel like I'm trying to have a better attitude about it, even though I don't like it. Okay, what do we say? I like snow. Hold on, y'all I'm losing the comments. I like snow up until I start plowing it. Oh, you plow for a living now. Well, at least it keeps the money in your pocket. It took the wind out of my sails, and I hate looking at it. It's just like warm weather all year round, and we get seasonal depression too. Yeah, seasonal depression is no fun. Seasons affect disorder is difficult. Good. I'm having trouble reading, guys. Good that you have started forcing yourself outside. Sunlight helps so much. Yeah, I've heard of the light. And if I was struggling this year, so many people have told me about the light this year. If I begin to struggle with it, or and later on, if I feel like I need it, then I'll do that. But yeah, seasonal depression is no joke. Depression is no joke, and I have a big old testimony about that. How the Lord has helped me in many situations in that. But seasonal depression is no joke. And I worry, it seems like since I have seasonal depression, and since it was so bad last year, I really, I feel more for people in the wintertime, especially elderly people. And older, like older people that have to do like what we do, get out on the farm and stuff. I feel so bad, because if it's harder on younger people, it's so much harder on them because they can't, there's a lot of things they can't do, and Lord bless them. I pray for them. It's hard. The video that I posted the other day about keeping warm in the wintertime, I talked about, making sure that you're taking the breaks you need to take. I know a lot of people up north are, getting even worse than we are. I think somebody commented on a video the other day, they were negative like 15 degrees Fahrenheit. And so I understand that it's hard. This cold weather is hard on everybody from the north to the south. And I think I even I said something to the effect on his video. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I told Andy, I said, he says that it's 15 degrees Fahrenheit. I think he was like trying to like downgrade the fact that we were only like at 8 degrees. But it's hard from the north to the south. It doesn't matter if you live in Florida and it's 30 degrees. Like your high is 30 degrees. It's as hard at 30 degrees for those people in Florida as it is for the people up north. They're in negative 15 degrees. It's the same amount of hard. There's not, because they're not used to it. If your body is not used to it, it's not used to it. And you can't like make the state you live in have different seasons. Like there's some, there's some years that it's just colder than the next, and those people struggle. I remember just a few years back, all those people in Texas just like were having the hardest time because it was so cold. I can't even remember how many multiple people died, and it was most of them. I think a lot of them were elderly, and that just makes me so sad, because it's hard just because you're at 15 degrees Fahrenheit or negative 15 degrees Fahrenheit and it's cold where you live doesn't mean that it's not cold for them at 30 degrees, or whatever degrees it gets. Cold is cold for people, and so we need to be more considerate of that. And I'm not saying anybody on here that's commenting has said anything like that, but I think that guy commented on the video and was kind of like being like a smart aleck and saying, well, his comment was first time, because I said on the video, I said below freezing temperatures, and he said first time it's negative 15 degrees where I live, or the other night where I live. And I was thinking, well, bud, I'm sorry that it's negative 15 degrees, but your negative 15 degrees is down south like 30 degrees to them. And so I don't know. We just need to be more considerate of other people. I told Andy, I said, I don't have a lot of bad comments on my videos, and a lot of mean, hateful comments I just automatically delete. I don't feed into them a lot. Here recently, I've been getting a lot more like smart alecky comments on my videos, and I just try to kill them with kindness, if you know what I mean. But people need to be more aware of how they sound, and how they project themselves on the internet. If you're purposefully going out of your way and taking time out of your day to type something out, to either hurt somebody's feelings, make yourself feel better by degrading them, you need to step back and take a look and do an inventory on yourself and see why you feel the need to bring other people down. But like I said, I don't have a lot of comments like that, and thank God I've got such amazing community. All of you all that are on here right now that have commented are all amazing people, and I thank God for you all. And I know that you all don't get on other people's videos and downgrade people like that, but we need to be more considerate of people, especially even now. That comment last year if that guy would have commented that to me last year when I was going through seasonal depression, I probably would have cried. It probably would have broke me in two. And people don't think about that. They don't think about how it makes other people feel. Sorry, I was losing my voice. They don't think about how it makes other people feel. And it's a sad reality of life. And I'm not about like dumbing things down or treating people like babies, or you not being able to manage your emotions or overreacting on small things. But like I said, if that guy would have commented that last year, I probably would have lost it. Like it would have hurt me bad. And so people need to be more aware of that. Even myself, I need to be more careful about the way that I speak and the things that I say. And I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And I don't, in videos and stuff, even when I get more serious in videos and talk about specific subjects and my opinion about them, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. It's okay to have an opinion about something, and I'm not somebody that gets upset about other people's opinions either. I like to hear other people's opinions. I've always been somebody that loves to hear another side. But if you're just like putting a comment on somebody else's video because you disagree with them, but you're not giving anything back, like you're not giving any background as to why you feel that way, you're just throwing out a mean comment and then just trying to hurt that person but not really giving an opinion, is the why you don't agree with them, you're just trying to hurt that person. You're not actually trying to educate, enlighten, or show a different way to do something. And so, that's a total different thing. If you comment on my video and you say, hey, I don't necessarily agree with, what you're doing, this is how we do it, or I don't necessarily agree with what you said, but that's okay, we don't have to agree, this is what I believe, that's okay, that's perfectly okay. But just like getting on there, and somebody commented on my videos the other day and said, poor birds. They were talking about my chickens, and somebody else commented and said, her birds look healthy and fine. And I said, when they commented, they said, poor birds. And I said, why? So what's poor about the birds? And they never did comment. They never did tell me what was wrong with our birds. They never did give a reason as to why they thought the birds were poor. They never did say anything back to the other person that was like, her birds are fine. They look healthy and happy. And so people literally just go through and try to hurt people, and it's not okay. I always got to be one in every crowd, unfortunately. Yes, unfortunately, there always has to be that one guy, and I don't know why. I don't know why it has to be that way. When I feel myself getting that way, I try to rein myself back in. I guess those other people just don't do that. Everybody feels that way. Like, some people, I know everybody goes through moods where, like, people just aggravate them. I guess everybody does, because I go through those moods, like, people just aggravate me. But I try to rein myself in, especially for people on the internet. Like, you see somebody and you're like, is that really necessary? Do you really have to do it that way? But I just scroll on past. I just don't watch them. Or I don't watch that video. I don't have to agree on everything you say or do. And so, I don't know. It seems like every time I get on a live, I go through like some type of spill like this. I'm sorry, guys. Y'all are probably tired of me ranting. You're probably like, my goodness, girl, come up with something else to talk about. So we're going to move on. But I hope everybody, like I said, is staying warm. I hope that for those of you that have animals, you are able to keep your animals warm and safe, that everybody's doing good and nobody's had any losses. Thank God, the animals are holding strong. We haven't had any losses. Everybody is doing good. We're getting ready, like I said, to get into the lower temps. But I think everybody's going to hang on good. I think that we are going to push right through it. Speaking of that, some of you ladies on here, I don't know if the ones that are on here right now are the ones that asked, but I put out another cooking video. It should be up tomorrow. I uploaded it tonight. It's scheduled for tomorrow, so it should be up. So those of you ladies that asked for Appalachian cooking, I've got you another Appalachian cooking video out. Those are hard videos to do, and I don't want to say it like I'm complaining, because I'm definitely not. They're hard to do. They just take a little bit longer. And supper usually is a little bit later when I do the cooking videos, but that's okay. We don't do them. We don't do them enough that anybody in the household is complaining that food's taking so long. But we got a new video coming out. If you all are interested in it, what did we make? We made hot wings, fried apples, fried taters, and homemade mac and cheese. And so if you all are interested in that video, then it is up there. Should be up tomorrow morning. But I like doing the Appalachian cooking videos because I feel like there's a lot of people out there that love to watch cooking. I wish that I could do more, but like I said, it's just really hard to do. And it's a lot of footage you got to go through. Like typically my videos, like when I video, I have about 20-30 minutes of footage. And then I usually get it in anywhere. Most of the videos I've been putting out recently are anywhere but like between 10 and 12 videos. Fried potatoes are the best. Yes. Well, these specific potatoes I fried in chicken fat, and they are so good like that. You'll have to see how I did it, but I love fried potatoes and just like whatever meat I'm cooking, whether it be kielbasa or sausage or bacon or chicken. I love, which we use bacon and sausage grease when we fry pretty much anything, unless we're deep frying stuff. We don't want to use all of our fat for that, but yeah, check it out. Let me know what you think. But those videos they take a lot more time to edit. And some things, I've got to make recipes for and things like that. So I love putting those videos out, but they're a little bit harder to do. I think I made that video over the weekend. And it's Wednesday? Maybe I made it Friday. I think Friday or Saturday, and it's Wednesday. I'm just now getting it out because it takes, and in between that, I've filmed three videos and posted them before I ever got the cooking video out. So if you all end up watching the cooking video, please let me know if you actually like it, because a lot of times it will show like the amount of time that people watch. In a 30-minute video, people only watch like 5 minutes. And so it's a lot of work. And if people don't actually enjoy the video, I really want to know, if you watch the video, if you actually enjoyed the video, because I would be willing to do more. Even though it takes a little bit more work, I would be willing to do more if people actually watch them. But it's hard when you go back and you see like a 30 or 45-minute video and nobody actually watches much of it. Which I know people don't have time to sit, like throughout the day, you don't have time to sit and watch a 30-minute video. And I'm perfectly okay with that. But I want to know if people actually find it interesting to watch. I know in our area we cook different. We cook a lot of things different. Especially compared to people up north, we eat a lot of stuff. I seen somebody comment on a video the other day. I can't remember what it was. It was somebody else's video. It wasn't mine. And they said, "Why do you all use white gravy?" Why do you all use white gravy? And in our area, in Appalachia, we use more white gravy than we use brown gravy. We put white gravy on mashed potatoes. We do put brown gravy on mashed potatoes as well, but typically, around holidays is when the brown gravy comes out. The rest of the time we eat white gravy. And so mashed potatoes, you can put white gravy on. Chicken, you can put white gravy on. Pork chops, you can put white gravy on. Biscuits, you can put white gravy on. We put white gravy on a lot of things. I make like a roux and a gravy to go in my chicken and dumplings, if you've watched my chicken and dumplings video. And so we cook different, I guess, than most of the world. Especially green beans. I've seen... Not gonna lie, didn't know white gravy was a thing. Chicken fried steak, yep. We put white gravy on that. White gravy, I'll explain it to you if you don't know what I'm talking about. So white gravy is so you can make it with, we make it with bacon grease or sausage grease. And what you do is, after you cook your sausage or bacon, you have a little bit of grease down in the bottom of your pan. And you take that grease, and you just need about that much. So about a tablespoon. You can also use butter. I use butter when I'm making a roux for chicken and dumplings. But you take that grease, that little bit of grease, and you get it hot, and you want, you don't clean your pan. You want the bottom of your pan that has your bacon, that you cooked your bacon and sausage in, and then you want to pour the rest of the grease out besides like a tablespoon. And it depends on how much gravy you're going to make, but around that amount, you want like a tablespoon, and you want all the crunchies and all the stuff in the bottom of your pan. And you take that grease that's hot in the bottom of your pan, and you get it where it's like liquid form. Sometimes you got to let your pan cool down so you can pour the rest of the grease out. So you put your pan on low to medium heat. Yeah, red eye gravy. And you put your pan on low to medium heat, and you put flour in. Now, I don't know how much flour. I measure with my heart, guys. But you don't want to overdo your flour, because if you do too much flour, like 2 tablespoons. You want to put like 2 tablespoons of flour in, I guess, around that. If you overdo your flour, you can add more fat, which would be the bacon or sausage grease. You just add a little bit more in it. Now, when you cook, when you take the flour and the gravy together, you want to cook the flour taste out of, I'm probably going to have to do a video. This is hard to explain. You want to cook the flour taste out of the flour. So you take the bacon, here's the bacon grease laying in the pan. Here is the flour. You put the flour in, and you take a whisk or some kind of spoon. You don't necessarily want to use metal in your cast iron, but I use a whisk. You can take like a wooden spoon and mix that up and let the flour cook out. How you know the flour taste is cooked out is the flour's going to turn like a little brown color. It's just going to get like a golden color. You don't want to get it super dark. And you got to constantly move it around. At this time, you should have got your milk out. I forgot the milk. You're going to take milk, and you're going to pour your milk in. If you're making like a large pan of gravy to go with biscuits, so like say your pan's about this big. Let me see. So this is your pan right here. You've done got your flour and your bacon grease in the bottom. You've stirred it up. Your flour's brown. You're going to pour your milk in, and it's going to be about a cup of milk. A cup to 2 cups, depending on how much gravy you want and how thick you want it. The less milk, the thicker it's going to be, but you at least want to put a cup of milk in. Now you can add a little bit of sugar. Andy usually adds sugar in his. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. You want to salt and pepper it well. You don't want to make it too salty, because obviously if you've cooked bacon and sausage, it's going to have salt in it. So salt to taste, and I like a lot of pepper in it. Black pepper. And you're going to stir constant. You're going to stir constant that flour and sausage and milk. And essentially you're making a roux. If you don't know what I mean, it's like thick. It's like thick fat-based, flour-based mixture. And then you're going to pour that over your biscuits. Y'all, leave a comment if you want a video on how to make gravy. Because I think I've done a video on how to make a roux for chicken and dumplings, and I did that with my fat base was butter. But you can make, we make squirrel gravy. When we eat squirrels, we use the fat off the squirrel, bacon, sausage, chicken based. A lot of people use butter. But we eat with a lot of bacon and sausage grease, and so this. Yeah, it's really type in if you really want to know how to do it. Before I can get a video out for it, I might make a video soon. Type in Pioneer Woman. Watch her video on how to make gravy. I didn't know how to make gravy until I was an adult. Andy taught me how to make gravy. Kinda. I watched him make gravy, and then I failed. You're going to fail when you try to make it, probably, unless you're just can catch on to it like that. A lot of times people have a floury taste in it until they can make it a couple times. So you're probably going to have to throw a couple batches out. They're probably going to taste like flour at first. A lot of times I freak out I freak out and think, when I first started, I was like, I'm going to burn my flour. And so I pour my milk in, and then it tasted like flour. It also can get lumpy really fast. And so you've got to, it's an art. It's an art, and that's why a lot of people don't know how to make it. I don't know, but it's an Appalachian thing. It's a Southern thing, I think, in general, but definitely an Appalachian thing that we eat white gravy. We eat gravy and biscuits, and like our wild man said, fried chicken steak, fried chicken and gravy. We we eat a lot of white gravy. It's horrible for you. I'm not going to say that it's going to do anything for your cholesterol, or your blood sugar. It's not gonna be good. It's not good for you at all. But it's good tasting, and sometimes that's all that matters, right? Sometimes that's all that matters. It's delicious. But I was talking about white gravy, and then something else that we do different. And Ark Wildman, if you're still on here, comment and let me know if in this in your area they cook green beans like this, because I think in like in that region, I don't know if they do or not. Y'all kind of cook, I think, similar to us, but I'm not quite sure. But green beans. When we cook green beans, first and foremost, if you know anything about gardens, a lot of times you're going to see like some type of green bean from Kentucky. Some of the best green beans, and I'm not just saying that because I'm from Kentucky, some of the best green beans, yeah, green beans with bacon. You knew what I was talking about. Some of the best green beans come from Kentucky. I think your Blue Lakes come from Kentucky. I'm drawing a complete blank, but there's multiple varieties, heirloom breeds, Kentucky Wonder, rattlesnake beans, turkey crawl beans, just things like that come from the Appalachian area. A lot of them come from Kentucky. We do green beans a little bit different than I think most of the world. A lot of the northern places. I don't know if more southern people cook it like this or not. But we boil our beans. A lot of people fry them or like saute them. Do you also like saute them in butter with vegetables? You all like steam vegetables or something like that. I think you all cook them more like that. We take a pot of beans, and by what I mean by a pot is like a pot like this size. This is the insert to my thing. I don't actually cook them in here, but you can cook them in here. This is to my Instapot. We cook a green bean until it's tender. We boil it. You can boil it in chicken broth. You can boil it in just regular water. But first, and I've done a video on this, so if you are interested in it, but first, we fry our bacon and our onion in the bottom of the pan with the bacon fat and the onion, and we put our green beans in. We let them boil down, and then we pop some taters in there. And when I say we boil them down, I mean like majority of the day. Like you start them in the morning and they're not ready until supper time. Like that long. We like a soft green bean. Now I can have a sauteed green bean, but that's nothing like this. This is a total different type of green bean way to do green beans. We like them soft. So the amount of softness that you like in a green bean, I guess, would be the amount of time you boil them down. But you want to boil them down, and then just before they're done, however long it takes you, however long you want you cut your taters in chunks, so however long it takes your taters to get soft in those chunks, then you can eat them. And that is a meal here. That's that's a meal. Like, that's the main course. Now, you can have it as a side, but that's a main course. Usually, if you eat green beans that way, it's in the summertime. You're trying to eat your green beans, and we eat string beans. Now, we have other beans that don't have strings on them that we grow, but we eat string beans. So, like turkey crawls, rattlesnakes, your vining beans, your climbing beans. That's what we like the most in our area. White half runners, things like that. And so, that's a meal, and usually your side dishes are like sliced tomato with a piece of onion and cornbread. He said pintos, pintos and fatback with cornbread. Yeah. So that's a meal in our area, and then like I said, Ark Wild Man, I think they cook a lot like us in his area, but that cornbread with any type of bean and like bacon or like pork, anything pork with beans and cornbread on the side or a biscuit on the side. I'm not a cornbread eater. Surprise. Everybody's shocked when I say I'm not a cornbread. I don't like cornbread. It's okay. It's just not my favorite. I'd rather have a biscuit. So a biscuit on the side. But that's a meal in our area, and some people would be like, y'all eat green beans for a whole meal? Yes, ma'am. We eat green beans with a whole meal for a whole meal with a potato in it because this is Appalachia and we eat a lot of potatoes as well. We're poor people. It's a poor man's food. Sounds pretty good. It is good. It is good. I do have a video on that, Eric, so if you go to my playlist, you'll probably find it. I think I got 2 videos on green beans, actually. I've got the short version, I think, and the longer version. So whichever one you want to choose, they are on there, and I show you how to make green beans. At that time, I made them as... Did I make them as a... No, I think I made them as a meal. I can't remember if I made them as side dish or a meal. I can't remember. But either way, it's on there. So if you wanna watch it, then you are more than welcome to. But that's how we typically eat beans around here. I know that seems weird to people because when I mention green beans, they say, "Oh, I love them sautéed in butter." And I'm thinking, yeah, that's good, but you ought to try them our way. You ought to try them our way because they're really, really good like that. It's a different kind. It's a different texture, and it's a completely different way of taking one simple food that, most cultures know about, most cultures eat, taking one simple food and making it different. And I think that when I started this channel, if you ever look at my title, it says Lantern Creek Farm Life in Appalachia. And when I started this channel, my intentions was to help and educate and things like that. But I really wanted people to see what it was like living in Appalachia. Because I think that there's a stigma around us. I know that there's a stigma around us that my wife started watching your videos. I'll have her watch the cooking ones. She likes to try different stuff. Yeah, that'd be wonderful. There's a stigma around us. Where we're seen as low class, inbred, poor people that don't have nothing and don't want nothing. And that's a big, big thing wrapped around us. And also just, I think a lot of people, when they think of us, they think of like alcoholics and like moonshiners, and they think of moonshine and bourbon when they think of us. And as a whole, that's not who we are. And in general, in the Appalachian region, we are hard-working people. And I'm not bragging on myself. I'm not saying that. But in general, these people, our ancestors, the people that, I gave you shout out on my community tab. Thank you so much. These people, Appalachian people as a whole, the whole Appalachian region, not just Kentucky, but the Carolinas and stuff like that that are in our region, the Appalachian region, are amazing, hardworking, nitty gritty people that figured out ways to survive without absolutely no help. We were like the last people in the United States that it was almost like they discovered us, and in later years they discovered us in later years, and they seen, just how we lived, and they thought that we were uncivilized savages, and that we were just like low down people, like that we were just not up to their standard. And the thing about it is we're still that way. We're still seen. When they discovered us, I can't even remember what it was. Like, they knew we existed, but they couldn't get up in the mountains. Like, we were still the Appalachian people. When I say we, I mean my ancestors, my people. We're still riding horseback, and we're still going up mountains on horseback, while other places had vehicles, while other places had roads, public roads and things like that. We were literally the hill people. That's probably why they call us hillbillies. We were just up in the hills and the hollers, and we were living our own lives. We were sustainable. We didn't need nobody's help. We knew how to take care of our own. We were strong people that had a way of surviving that they hadn't seen for years, because it was new to them. And I'm talking as like, I was there, I wasn't there, but that's inside of us. That's in us. That's in our roots. And when the reason why we have a homestead, the reason why we the reason why we have a homestead, the reason why we farm, is because it is like ingrained. It is ingrained in our roots. And I was a city kid. Like, I was born and raised in the city. But it's like, it's even more in my husband than it is in me. He grew up a lot different than I did. Come here. Come on. You got to quit that. Hey, you got to quit. Come here. He wants to make everything about him when he's obsessed with me, guys. But it's in us. And so I was excited is an underestimated statement when we had Lake and we decided that we were going to live this lifestyle, and we were going to try to be as sustainable as possible, because that's something that Appalachians have known for years. That's something that they have done for years. They've been able to sustain themselves for generations and generations. And honestly, if we're going to go back to how well Appalachians were doing before outside government, and this is years ago, back when we were in horses and buggies and riding horses up mountains, they did better then than Appalachians are today with all the government intervention. And that's a bold statement. People are probably going to get mad at me for that, but that's just the truth. They did better then. There was a lot less issues when it comes to drugs. There was a lot less issues when it comes to actually having work and being able to live a sustainable life. They completely have done away with all the jobs when it comes up to, or most of the jobs, when it comes to our region and our area, most of them wrapped around the coal mines. People are going to get mad at me for saying that as well, but it's just the truth. I don't know how many people that we know who once worked in the coal mines who lost their job and had to move out of the mountainous areas down to areas like where we are at the bottom of the mountains, to find work, because their work was gone. The only thing that they knew was gone. And so it was a hard life. Coal mining is a hard job, but it's virtually non-existent now. They've done away with a lot of it, and it put a damper and a dent on our people as a whole, on the Appalachian people as a whole. And so that's a sad reality of what essentially happened to Appalachia is, we were seen, like I said, as savages, as hill people, as backwards. And they came in and tried to civilize us and make us more dependent on the government. And due to that fact, hundreds of people have lost their livelihood down through generations. And they didn't actually help. They caused more havoc than help in many regions, in many areas of the Appalachian region. And so it's really sad. It's really sad. But as a whole, like I said, we are strong, resilient people. And we'll do okay. We'll do okay. But when I started this channel, I wanted to let everybody know. I wanted it to be about the way that we actually live. The majority of the people that we know live this way. We're a rural area. There's some larger cities, as I will say. Our larger cities are nothing compared to big cities up north or major cities down south. I mean, our large cities are probably a speck in their cities. But as a whole, we're a very rural area, and we have been able to stay rural for the most part. And I think that's from, yeah, they do. The government does. They came in and just, country folks can survive. That's the truth. I think that we've been able to maintain this lifestyle as a general because our ancestors were so strong, and they were able to pass down their knowledge, and down generations. They managed to be able to give us unmeasurable knowledge. And he was talking about country folks can survive. It's something about country people as a whole is looked down on, but we know how to survive, and that's the truth about it. We've managed to stick to our roots. We've managed to, and us sticking to our roots is going to be able to benefit us throughout our entire lives and make us strong when others are failing. I've said it a million times, but it seems like before the C word happened and we started having food shortages, a lot of people didn't even know where their food came from. They didn't know. They had no clue where their food came from. And the worst thing about it, the hardest thing about it, is me and Andy have talked about this a million times, is those people that have grown up in larger cities and don't know where their food comes from. The fact that they don't know where their food comes from is a problem, but the fact that they don't know where it comes from and they don't know how to grow it is a whole nother issue. What are you going to do? What are they going to do when, and I'm not trying to say this sarcastically, I'm saying this with fear. Those people are not going to make it. They're not going to be able to survive if something crazy happens. They're not going to be able to make it, and it's sad. And so we as a whole, and the good thing about the internet, natural selection, I'm trying not to laugh. The good thing about, Eric, the good thing about the internet now is you can look these things up and you can figure out for yourself. If you don't know where your food comes from, figure out where your food comes from. And if you can't produce your own food, you need to figure out how to forage for your own food. At least that you're somewhere. Watch Ark Wildman. He can teach you where your food comes from, how to forage for your food, how to prepare and take care of the food that is out in the wild and the nature. He's a really good channel for that, and he knows how to do all of those things. I still have plenty of home and canned goods. My goal this year is to get down south and live simple as possible and grow our own food and just focus on us and live a slower paced life. Natural solutions. Deer stew. Cream corn and beans. Andy don't like cream corn. I wish he did, but he don't. I like cream corn. So I very rarely have it. Usually somebody else makes it and I eat it like a potluck. But I wish Andy liked cream corn. But yeah, Eric, that's a wonderful goal. It's an amazing thing being able to rely on only you. This is an amazing community. The homesteading community is an amazing community. They have knowledge and wealth of information. I learn something almost every single time I watch a video from another homesteader. And there's a wealth and a knowledge. Sorry, guys. There's a wealth and a knowledge like no other. We are in Kentucky. There's a wealth and a knowledge like no other that they have, the community has, and you can learn from each and every single one of them. And there's just so many. There's so many different things that you can figure out, especially if you're moving to, I can't remember where you said you were going to move to, where y'all were wanting to move to. But you can find all kinds of resources for your area, hopefully, or the area that you're going to move, and knowledge throughout the internet. You know, the internet is a love-hate thing. You don't want to overdo it, definitely. But if you can learn something, Southwest, unless I find something better somewhere elsewhere. If you're able to find different plants, I encourage you to learn how to forage. That's something that I want to learn more about. In the Appalachian region, we have, I don't know, all kinds of different species of things to forage and to be able to make home remedies, medications, ways to even rid yourself of parasites, which is something that I'm very interested in, that I'm hoping to be able to dive more into this year, ridding ourselves of parasites. Being that we handle a lot of animals, I'm thinking that we probably need to be wormed. I say wormed in quotation marks because, I mean, we might have worms. Everybody does. But ridding ourselves of parasites, learning different plants do different things for your body, learning things that are edible, learning things that aren't edible, different things like that. I really want to dive more into that. And Ark Wildman, if you are still on here, please give us some books, some ideas. Make salves. Yeah, he's talking about making salves and tinctures. Yeah, tinctures, learning how to make tinctures, learning how to make salves for different things. Those are all different things that are just wonderful to know in general for the health and well-being of yourself, and trying to rid your body more of the chemical things. If I know that different medications were created because of different reasons, and I'm not against medications as a whole. I believe some medications are needed for different things, but I believe that there's a lot of natural products out in the world that the good Lord gave us that we can use to boost our immune system, to not need those medications, along with being able to use those to help benefit us better when we are sick than going straight to store-bought medications. Like I said, I'm not against store-bought medications. We do. I mean, we have them in our house. Do we use them all the time? Absolutely not. Do I take a Tylenol every time I get a headache? No. Do I take a Tylenol every time I'm sick? No, I don't. I'm not somebody that takes a lot of medication in general. Typically, I don't even use tinctures or even natural remedies and teas even when I'm sick. Usually I'll give them to them. A lot of times I stay sick longer because I just try to get my immune system to build up, and I usually just try to fight it off on my own. Not to say that you should do that, not to say that you need to do like me, not judging you if you take a Tylenol every time you get a headache, or if you don't take a Tylenol every time you get a headache. Just whatever, do what's best for you. But I don't, and I'm not telling you to do it that way, but that's just how I am. Just naturally, that's how I am. I'm just not somebody that takes a lot of medication because I don't like taking it. But, I mean, Lakin has an autoimmune disease, and Andy has an autoimmune disease, and so I completely understand all of those things. I understand weak immune systems and all of that because they are in my own household, and those are things that we struggle with on an every single day basis. That's just one of those things. While I still can, I've been walking my property and using identification app to identify all the useful plants on my. That is an amazing idea. That is a great idea. And we were just talking to Eric about that. When you all move to your property that you're wanting to move to, that is a great way to get familiar with your property. And learn very quickly what is on your property that is useful and what is on your property that is not useful. And go ahead and eliminate the not useful and baby and take care of the things that are useful. I do foraging classes in the spring. Yes, Ark Wildman is advanced in foraging. He knows what he's talking about. And so he is a great person to watch for those things and that information. Like I said, it's a goal of mine to get more versed in plants and what am I trying to think? Natural plants that grow out in the wild. More versed in foraging and plants that are in my area. Being able to be more knowledgeable about the things that are more useful in my area. I guess that's the way to put it. Why do I always overdo it? Like I have such a hard time just saying what I'm trying to say. Y'all gotta stick with me there. But yeah, I think that foraging is, even if you can't grow your own food, even if you can't produce your own food, the good Lord put plenty of things out there that are very useful. And in some areas, it's, you've got a lot of the same things. Some areas you've got more, some areas you've got less, some areas you got these plants, some areas you got that plant. Everywhere is probably a little bit different. But it's an amazing feeling to be able to know that you can go out into the wild, into this big, vast world, and be able to look at a plant, be able to identify it and say, this is what this is. And this is what it does. And so that is a wonderful feeling. I have a tiny bit of knowledge on this, and like I said, that is something that I'm really wanting to get more into and learn more about from our area. There's all kinds of books for the Appalachian area that I need to get, that I need to order, that I need to be reading up on. I haven't started yet. for my area that I need to be getting more knowledgeable about. But the plants that I do know about, I'm super excited when I see them and I can identify them and say, hey, that's what this is and this is what it does. And so that is a great feeling, being able to do that. And it's a smart way to go. And so, like I said, if you can't grow your food right off, if you're not able to grow your food, there's food growing out around you, and so you can hopefully be able to find something around you that you are able to look into. And so hopefully I can put out some more content and more videos on that, of being able to do a little bit more foraging myself. I've got a couple videos. What do I have? One. I know that I have a video about goldenrod. Goldenrod is extremely beneficial. And I was too late after I found my goldenrod to find my rabbit tobacco. But somebody graciously gave me some rabbit tobacco, and so we have rabbit tobacco as well. But that is the gist of what I think that I got a hold of last year. But along with growing food in the garden, I definitely want to be able to find more food out in the wild. Morel mushrooms is a big thing in our area. And so we do forage for morel mushrooms when it's that time of year. But those are pretty much, I mean, I know a few, different things, but that's pretty much, I think, what is on my YouTube channel. And as far as just like having very much more knowledge than that, I don't have very much more knowledge on those things. And so I mean, I know like dandelions and a few different berry bushes that are in our area. Ark Wild Man said he loves wild mushrooms. We are in a wet climate, a wet kind of swampy-ish climate, and so mushrooms are a wet, damp, and foresty climate with a lot of pines. And so mushrooms are something that occurs a lot in our area. And not far from our property, we have morels, yeah. Where I live, there are morels and wild ginseng everywhere. Ginseng is a big thing in our area. Red root is a big thing in our area. Yellow root is a big thing in our area. Bloodroot. Is bloodroot and red root the same thing? Bloodroot is another thing. My husband knows how to identify it. Is ginseng and the bloodroot and yellow root and stuff like that. He knows how to identify those things. I personally do not. As a child and even a teenager and an adult, he hunted ginseng and things like that with his grandfather, and they sold it. And so and that's a big thing in the Appalachian area. Ginseng and things like that is an income in our area. They are very serious about it in our area, and so that's why I probably haven't went out hunting much on it, because a lot of the patches are taken, and people will probably not be too happy about it. We do hunt the morels because it's not far from. We found our own personal patch of it that I don't believe anybody else knows about, because we've never had anybody pick any of it. But we found our own personal area where we're not bothering anybody else. That's close to where the farm is, and so we don't have to worry about getting in anybody's patch. And so that's a lot of, I think, why we haven't went ginsenging and things like that. My husband knew where some was years ago. But like I said, it is very serious in our area. I would like to have some for medicinal reasons. But like I said, it's an income for people around here, and I don't really want to mess with other people's income, if that makes sense. I don't want to bother, I don't want to bother people's income. And so, or if I find a patch of it and they've left some to, people here get shot and arrested if, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't, like I said, like you're talking like it's pretty serious too. Yeah, it's really serious, in our area. And, like I said, that's people's livelihood, and you don't want to be that guy. I definitely don't want to get shot. And, you don't want to be that guy, that causes somebody else's livelihood to be affected, because people get a little, upset about their livelihood being affected, and I can't blame them for that. And so we don't personally own the property where my husband knows where it is, or the areas where he knows it is, and so we don't go, and start bothering people's stuff. We're not going to go on somebody else's property. Trespassers are all around us too. We have a lot of issues with trespassing in our area, because there's a lot of ways to get in and out. Like, we live in like hills and hollers and mountainsides, and so you can sneak into somebody's place and sneak out of somebody's place pretty easy. I gotta run. Have a good night, Ark Wildman. God bless you. Hopefully you can be on the next one. Thank you for your knowledge of information as always, and I hope that you have a wonderful night. But yeah, people can get in and out of places pretty easy in our area. Usually you gotta have a pretty good dog, to even know that they're there, because it's, like I said, it's a lot of hills and hollers. Yeah, we're in Kentucky. We live in Kentucky. We're in the eastern part of Kentucky. But there's a lot of wooded areas as well that people tend to sneak into other people's property. That's why we have a good dog. Along with predator problems, people can be predators as well. So that's an unfortunate thing, but it happens. And it happens in rural areas. Probably not as much as it happens in more city areas, but it happens a lot in rural areas as well. The only difference between rural areas and city areas, people tend to get a lot more hurt. In rural areas, a lot of people get in bad spots. I guess is the nice way to say it, because people are not scared to defend their property and their things, and their livelihoods. So that's one thing about it. But it is what it is. Ginseng, like I said, is a big thing, and it'd be something that I would like to get a hold of. But like I said, it would have to be on a property that we are allowed to be on. I live in Jeffersonville for a little more than a year. Live in East Ohio now. Jeffersonville, Kentucky? Is that what you're saying? Or Jeffersonville, Ohio? We went to Eastern Ohio. I believe it was Eastern Ohio. Where was it called? The eastern part of Ohio for some goats one time. I'm trying to think. Oh, you lived in Jeffersonville. I know where that's at. That's neat. Are you from here? Or I know some Meadows that live, or do you say, I know some Meadows. We say Meadows. They say their name Medders. They're from the Harlan area, but they lived in the Jeffersonville area. And, okay. So you're from Ohio. Well, that's pretty neat because I know exactly where that's at. See, that's interesting. That's really cool. Are you kin? Well, I guess you're probably not kin then to the Meadows in the Jeffersonville area, the Meaders, as they said their last name. It's spelled Meadows, but they're from Harlan, Kentucky, so they say Meaders. Meaders. West Virginia side. Or West Virginia, originally dad's side. My mom lived in Huntington, West Virginia, throughout her childhood. If I'm not mistaken, I don't want to tell you wrong, but I think middle school through high school. Definitely high school. I know that she lived in Huntington, West Virginia. She graduated from Huntington High School or whatever it was called. The high school in Huntington. It was back in the 60s or 70s. And so, maybe the 70s. I don't want to make her older than what she is. Somewhere in that time, I don't know how many high schools there were then. Probably not many in West Virginia, Huntington area. But her dad worked on the railroad, and that's why they moved up there, because he worked on the railroad. But she lived in West Virginia. She's originally from the northern Kentucky area, in the Florence area. Shady Springs near Beckley, West Virginia. Hi, how are you? She lived in West Virginia for a time. But she, like I said, is originally from the northern Kentucky area. And her father was from the area that we live in now in Kentucky, but her mother, I believe, was from the northern Kentucky area. I'm sure you're probably familiar with Florence, Kentucky area, and that's where she was from. And then my dad and her met in the northern Kentucky area, but he is his people are from Missouri, and so that's kind of, I think actually, if you go all the way back to my ancestry, it's more like Arkansas, Missouri area, on my dad's side. But either way, they met in the northern Kentucky side, and we lived in northern Kentucky for a short period of time in my life, and then we moved more to eastern Kentucky, and I grew up here. I was born in northern Kentucky, but I grew up in the eastern part of Kentucky, and I feel like it's kind of taken me over more being growing up in the eastern part of Kentucky. But and I don't feel like an outsider. But when I start talking about being my family from being up north, people look at me like, "Oh, you don't sound like you're from up north." People ask me, actually, in our area, if they ask me if I'm from down south, with my accent. They ask if I'm more southern than what I am, but I'm not. My dad has a Missourian accent, and my mom doesn't have, like, she probably has an accent to people outside of our area, but in our area, she's just like, she doesn't have an accent at all. But I sound like cornbread. And my daughter sounds like cornbread, and her daddy sounds like cornbread. So, and Lycan says she doesn't sound like cornbread, but she does. And that's perfectly okay. I'm okay with that. I am perfectly okay with the way I sound. I don't try to mask it in the slightest. Although people would probably be able to understand me better. Like most people, you can like get rid of your accent for like a period of time. Like if you can speak British or like in a Chinese accent or whatever. But Yeah, that sounds like Kentucky. He said, I enjoy Kentucky. First time I ever had a creek party in our 4x4 in the middle of a creek. Yeah, yeah, that happens often. We get baptized in creeks around here. When you get saved, you go to the creek to get baptized. And I called a big creek the other day. I think today or yesterday, I told Andy, I said, that's practically a river. He said, that ain't a river, that's a creek. I said, well, it's practically one. But yeah, I can get rid of my accent to like speak more proper for a few seconds, but it don't last very long. I've only been to Kentucky once, but it was dark, so I didn't see much passing. Well, you probably could only see the mountains anyways. If you were on the interstate, you probably only seen hillside mountains and trees, even if it was daylight. Because there's not much. There's not, well, it's probably beautiful to other people, which is beautiful to me, honestly. I'm amazed. I'm amazed with the beauty that we have in our, and it still astonishes me. I say creek too, but people here say crick. But that's, I don't know. I say creek. A lot of people say crick. But maybe I'm not that cornbread. I don't know. I say some, say some crazy things. Maybe I'm not that cornbread that I say crick. But to me, it's just harder to say creek or crick, crick, creek, creek. It just sounds easier to me to say it. But there's some things I say that um, people are probably like, my goodness. They probably don't even understand what I'm saying a lot of times. I feel like sometimes people don't understand me. But I feel like it's like that in every region. Like you take like a Boston, everybody knows like the Boston accent or like an Irish accent, or I mean there's just some things that are just unlegible by hearing that happens. Um, the cities are just as messed up as the cities anywhere else out in the country. Is amazing. Yeah. Yeah, I've talked about it on lives before, but I love our mountains. I love our hills and hollers, and I love our mountains. They're beautiful. Um, there's nothing like them. I'm not a bit interested in going to big cities and seeing big towns. I'm not. We go to the biggest city near us when somebody has like a major issue and has to go to the hospital. Like we have like our little town, our little city hospital or our little town hospital. A lot of people have to be shipped to the nearest city. And we get in there to visit them, and we get out of there as soon as possible. We don't stick around. We try to get home. We try to get out of there as quick as possible, with our heads down, because there's not. It doesn't interest us to go to those places. Nothing against the people either. I don't want to say it like we're against the people. We're not, by no means. We just don't want to try to live the life that they're living. I know I've been to bigger cities, like I've been to Washington, D.C., and in my early teens, I've been twice that I went on school trips. And just the amount of homelessness there is really hard on me. I remember we're in a rural area, and homelessness happens in our area, but usually if there's a homeless person around, it's somebody that's passing through our area. You don't like see people under bridges or sleeping in park benches. But my friend was getting married, and we went to this park area to get her pictures done for her wedding, and in the park, which is very rare for us to see, there was a man sleeping on the bench. And where I'm so not like I'm completely aware that homelessness exists, and it breaks my heart. Like it I think of homeless people a lot, like probably more than your average person. I think of how sad that is, and I don't see a lot of homelessness, and I think it's because I don't see a lot of it that it bothers me so bad. And this isn't a perfect example of it. Well, my friend's sister comes in from California. She's from this area, but she lived in California at the time. Her husband was stationed in California. He was in the Navy. And there was a man sleeping on the bench in our park, which is very unusual. And I pointed to her and I said, "Look at that man over there. That's so unbelievably sad." She said, "We see that." She said, "I see that every day." She said, "That's not a big deal to me." She said, "You wouldn't make it in California because that's an everyday occurrence and an event." And it was like, wow, wow. In my part of Ohio, we are about 45 minutes away from the nearest grocery store, an hour and a half to the city, just the way I like it. Yeah, that sounds great. You're a little bit farther away from the grocery store than we are. We just so happened to get a new grocery store up from our farm, and it's only like a 15-minute drive, which is nice. So we get to pick up our groceries and head home. But homelessness is it's not something we see in our area, and it bothers me bad. But I think in cities and stuff, it doesn't bother people as bad. And so when we go to major cities, all I can see I say major cities, when we go to our nearest cities, when we go to the bigger cities in our area, or like when we were in Washington, D.C. as a teenager when I went with our school, all I could see was homeless people. And it's just really sad. Oh, there's always a Family Dollar. They call them in our area holler generals because they're in the holler. Holler generals. I'm just gonna go down to the holler general. But like I said, it's just I don't know. I'm not for the bigger cities. That's just not my cup of tea. I don't know how people do it, and. I know. I don't know why there's so many. I had heard something or maybe read it on an article or like a news thing that popped up on my phone, and it said that the man that owns the Dollar General's goal in life is to put Walmart out of business. He hasn't put Walmart out of business, but he ain't got he doesn't have any hard time about producing a bunch of dollar stores. Listen, they're building a dollar store right now down the road from us in the middle of a soybean field. And Andy told me, he said, "Honey, that they building a dollar store down here." And I said, "They're building a dollar store down there? Are you sure that's not like a shop?" He said, "No, it's a dollar store." I said, "They're building a dollar store in the middle of a soybean field?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "That's weird. That's a weird place to have a Dollar General in the middle of a soybean field." But they're doing it every day. They're putting them all over the place. I think just in our little town, we've counted it before, and they've grown since then. I'm trying to think. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's like 10, just in our tiny little town of like 2,000 people. Ain't hardly nobody live here. I don't know why we need so many varieties of dollar stores, and a bunch of them are like the same dollar store. Like they're the Dollar General. There's like a $3 Generals or $4 Generals, and don't make no sense. We did just recently get, what are those new ones that have like the groceries in them? DG Market. We did recently get a DG Market in our town, and so that made our second grocery store, which was a big step in the direction of our variety of groceries. instead of having to drive more of a distance to get groceries. But that's crazy. Well, guys, we are hitting almost an hour and 30 minutes. And we're down to like one viewer showing. So I appreciate everybody that showed up and we've had all kinds of conversations. I hope that everybody has a blessed and wonderful evening. I hope that everybody can stay warm and safe. You're the last one standing, Eric. The last one standing. According to the thing, it shows one person. But I appreciate you all showing up and hanging out, and God bless y'all. I hope that you all have a wonderful evening. Like I said, I hope that everybody stays blessed and warm and comfortable. I hope that everybody that has animals, that everybody makes it through these brisk cold temps that we got. But I appreciate everybody hanging out, and I hope that you all have a wonderful evening. We'll see you later. Bye.